Hello students, welcome to Shri Classes. We'll continue with lecture number 3, how do organisms reproduce. In this section, reproductive health, and finally the question answers will be taken up. So let's get back to the subject directly. Now, reproductive health has been categorized into two main parts. One talks about the sexually transmitted diseases and how to prevent the pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy. This is basically how to prevent the unwanted pregnancy. So these are the two things. So important in this is, see, these sexually transmitted diseases. Why this disease? What is the cause for these diseases? As the two bodies come into contact with each other intimately, there is a very much possibility of transfer of diseases from one person to another person. And these diseases have been classified as bacterial infections or the bacterial diseases and viral diseases. Very important. You may get in the exam one question, what are the sexually transmitted diseases that are bacterially infected and those are virally infected. So gonorrhea and syphilis. Gonorrhea and syphilis are the bacterial infections. Please remember, these two are bacterial infections, and these are the two diseases that are caused, which can be transmitted sexually during the sexual contact by bacterial infections. And what are the viral infection? Warts and HIV/AIDS. These are the diseases that are caused by viruses. That's all. Nothing much is there. Only about the diseases you must know. And of course, we know, all of us know, that there is no cure for HIV/AIDS. Okay. So it is very important one should get protected by these diseases. And second thing is prevention of the pregnancy. Prevention of the pregnancy is done by a method called contraception. What is contraception? The deliberate use of artificial methods or the techniques to prevent the pregnancy is called contraception. There are 4 methods, contraceptive methods, to avoid the pregnancy, and these are mechanical barriers method, chemical methods, usage of Iocd, that is intrauterine contraceptive device, and surgical methods. These are the 4 methods that have been discussed in your chapter, by which the unwanted pregnancy can be prevented. Why this is, say, one more thing is, if the for a woman to get pregnant, and it requires a lot of mental preparation, and also the body preparation also should take place. Not only that, there is a lot of energy requirement for a pregnant woman, and therefore sometimes during the teen age, if the pregnancy, there is a possibility that the tendency to get indulge into the activities, sexual acts, etc., and thereby one can get pregnant. In order to avoid such things, there are certain contraceptive methods which are used, and quite effective also, not much of a problem. Those can be used to prevent the pregnancy. So remember, mainly the 4 contraceptive methods to prevent the pregnancy that are quite popular are mechanical barrier methods, chemical methods, usage of Iocd, intrauterine contraceptive device, and surgical methods. Let us discuss these things in detail. First one, mechanical barrier method. What is this mechanical barrier means? Certain devices act as mechanical barriers and prevent the sperm from mating with the egg, and thereby the pregnancy can be avoided. What are those methods? First we'll read this. In this method, mechanical barrier is created so that sperm does not reach the egg, and it consists of usage of condoms on the penis. Diaphragm or cervical caps are worn as the coverings in the vagina. So condoms, diaphragm and cervical caps, these are the mechanical barriers which can be used to prevent the pregnancy. Next is the chemical method. So in the chemical method, one can take, especially this chemical method, usage of drugs like oral pills is recommended only for women. So chemical method consists of taking drugs like oral pills. Of course, vaginal pills are also there, but this is what is given in your textbook, that is oral pills, which can prevent. How does it prevent? Basically, oral pills, if those are taken, how it will prevent? See here, the drugs act as contraceptives by changing the hormonal balance of the body, by changing the hormonal balance of the body, so that eggs are not released and fertilization cannot occur. So these oral pills should be able to prevent the release of the eggs by changing the hormonal system of the body, and hence pregnancy can be avoided. But there is a danger here. As the hormonal imbalances are involved, it may lead to a lot of side effects, that is to be considered. And then comes usage of IUCD, Intrauterine contraceptive device, generally loop or the copper T. These two are placed inside the uterus so that the sperm does not enter and move towards the ovary, or not move towards the eggs in the fallopian tube. So it also, here also this acts as a barrier method only, but to be specific, you know, unlike this diaphragm or a cervical caps that are placed at the vagina, the copper T or the loop is placed inside the uterus, and thereby pregnancy can be prevented. But also here they cause lot of irritation, and therefore, you know, for some people it is not recommended also. Next is surgical methods. Thing is, either blocking or removing the small part of the vas deferens, which is called vasectomy, or the fallopian tube in females, which is called tubectomy, is one more surgical method. So that if a woman undergoes tubectomy, part of the fallopian tube is cut or blocked by surgical means, so that the eggs will not be able to enter into the uterus also. Not only that, the eggs will not be able to move into the fallopian tube, because part of the fallopian tube will be blocked, so that the sperm does not meet the egg and fertilization cannot take place. Therefore, pregnancy can be avoided. Similarly, under vasectomy, that is basically for the males, the vas deferens is either partially cut or it is blocked, so that the sperm will not be able to come out of the tube. So this is how the surgical methods are also adopted in order to avoid the pregnancy, but rarely people undergo surgical methods. And out of this all methods, you know, in order to prevent the sexually transmitted diseases, one of the best methods so far, which generally people are using, is the usage of condoms on the penis. According to your textbook, usage of condoms prevents sexually transmitted diseases to a greater extent. So these are the different contraceptive methods. Okay, next let us see. Yeah, now I think that's the end of the lecture 3. That's the end. We have discussed almost all the concepts of this chapter, and finally I have to read a couple of paragraphs from your textbook with respect to the what is that last, reproductive health. With respect to reproductive health, I have to read a couple of paragraphs. Let me open that one. Because it is important from the examination point of view. Just a moment. Page number 127. Yes, here there is important. See, what is fetus? It is an unborn offspring. Remember that. What is fetus? It is an unborn offspring. How it is formed? By continuous division of embryo. How embryo is formed? By continuous cell division of zygote. Okay. There is one particular technical term here, female feticides, given in your textbook. Female feticides means abortions. Okay, female feticides means if the there is a baby girl then probably in villages and all we see, if a woman comes to know, if the parents come to know that it is a baby girl, then they may go for abortions and all. But there is a negative impact of this one. What is that negative impact? That is what I am going to read from the textbook. Okay. For a healthy society, the female-male sex ratio must be maintained. Female to male sex ratio must be maintained, because so that there is a balance of the number of females to males will be balanced in that case. Because of reckless female feticides, means if parents come to know, or if a woman comes to know that it is going to be a baby girl by sex determination, by using the ultrasonic methods and all, because we will come to know what is the sex. In that case, one may resort to abortions and all. Thereby, nowadays you can find that female to male sex ratio is decreasing. You understood? It is not balanced, it is decreasing. In order to maintain, see, government has made a law here that prenatal sex determination is punishable act. Even if you request the doctors will not be able to tell you the sex of the fetus, because it is illegal. But based on that one, if it is permitted, then the female feticide rate will increase, and further the female to male sex ratio will come down. And therefore, one small paragraph is there, listen carefully. For a healthy society, the female-male sex ratio must be maintained. Because of reckless female feticides, child sex ratio is declining at an alarming rate in some sections of our society. Although prenatal sex determination has been prohibited by law. So this is one part. And another thing is, what happens to the population? See, reproduction is indirectly responsible for the increase in population, isn't it? So there is one paragraph, I'll read it. Here this paragraph talks about the well-being of an individual. If there is a more population, then probably one would not be able to sustain a prosperous life, lead prosperous life, is what this paragraph says. But also it depends upon the economy also, country's economy also. So one particular paragraph I'll read, listen to this carefully. We have noted earlier that reproduction is a process by which organisms increase their populations. The rates of birth and death in a given population will determine its size. The size of human population is a cause of concern for many people. This is because an expanding population makes it harder to improve everybody's standard of living. If the population increases exponentially, then it is very impossible to maintain good living standards. However, if inequality in society is the main reason for poor standards of living for many people, then the size of the population is relatively unimportant. So finally he says, if we look around us, what can we identify as the most important reasons for poor living standards? Is it the increase in population, or is it the inequality in society? So the answer is left to you to answer this question. Okay. So a couple of paragraphs which are fine, students. Can we go through the question answer session now? So make a note of these things. You pause the video to make a note. This one, here we started reproductive health. You can make a note of this, and also this one. That's the end of the chapter here. Okay. Now we'll start with the question answers. Okay. So let me see. Just a moment, let me open this. Wait, just a moment. I have taken these question answers from Rachna Sagar. We'll go through that one, and then MCQs of Exemplar, and short answer and long answer types of MCQs. Answers have been already circulated to all of you in the form of PDF, and those things you cover all those questions yourself. If any difficulty, we can have a discussion on that definitely. So let me check the solutions from Rachna Sagar which has been taken. We'll rush through that one. Okay, I'll take a pause here. We'll open that PDF file and then we'll start once again. We'll go through Intext and exercise questions. Okay, fine. What is the importance of DNA copying in reproduction? What is the importance of DNA copying in reproduction? Reproduction is a basic event that produces similar offsprings. In order to produce the similar offsprings, there should be similar blueprints of the body design, and the blueprints of the body design is governed by the DNA because it contains an information source for making proteins. If the information in the DNA is changed, then different features of the body are formed, and therefore DNA copying is very important in order to maintain the body design similar to the parent. You can say. So let us see what is the answer given here. DNA contains information of inheritance of characters from parents to the next generation. As a result of DNA copying, blueprints of body design are produced. Important. Therefore, see, the DNA copy is referred as the blueprint of a body design. Please remember that. Okay, and which passes from parents to the offsprings. Thus, DNA copying maintains the body features in different generations of the species. Sometimes DNA copying also creates variation which are useful for the survival of species over the time. So this is the importance of DNA copying. Next, why is the variation beneficial to the species but not necessary for an individual? I'll tell you the story so you should be able to understand. There is a population, means a group of same organisms belonging to a particular species. If they live on one particular ecosystem, particular region or a particular niche, then we say that as a population. Now, generally, in order to live in a particular region or a niche, the organisms must have adapted to the environment. If there is a drastic change in the environment, then the majority of the organisms or the population of the organism or the species of the organism may wipe out. But we have found that even there are some drastic changes in the environment, some organisms will survive those conditions because of the variations that existed, and those variations are the results of variations in DNA copying, and those variations enabled the organisms to sustain the harsh environmental conditions and continue with the production so that the species is not wiped out. The species exists, meaning the variations may not be useful for an individual, but definitely in a population if we look at, or in a species if we look at, variations would be enabled to maintain the continuity of the species, and also that leads to the process called evolution. And hence variation is very important for the species but not for the individuals. So in many ways you can write this answer. You can read yourself, pause the video and read it. How does binary fission differ from multiple fission? Binary fission, it occurs when environmental conditions are favorable for the organisms. It occurs when the environmental conditions are unfavorable for the organism. See, I do not accept this unfavorable condition. So probably we can take out this first one, favorable and unfavorable conditions. Let us see the next one. No protective covering is formed outside the cell, okay, in binary fission, whereas protective covering is formed in multiple fission. Only 2 new organisms are formed by this type of production, that is in binary, whereas in multiple, many individuals are formed. You take point number 2 and point number 3 rather than point number 1. Okay, that is important, which I feel 2 points are enough to distinguish between binary and multiple fission. And examples you can give. See, examples, giving an example also is an important. Sometimes you will be asked to distinguish between the two with examples. Binary fission is observed. Where the binary fission is observed? It is observed in amoeba. What about the Plasmodium, malarial parasite? You can observe the multiple fission. How will an organism be benefited if it reproduces through spores? He is asking, is there a benefit for an organism if it is reproduction through the spores, is the question. First of all, spores are very light in weight. They can fly in the air. So let us read 3 points. Reproduction through spores is simple as well as faster mode of reproduction because single parent is involved. First of all, the spores are light in weight and they keep floating in the air. This helps the dispersal of the organism from one region to another region. So our population can grow, it can occupy a great amount of place. The spores are covered with a thick layer which enable them to survive the unfavorable conditions, and also whenever they come into contact with the moist surface or a moist soil, the spores germinate, and these are the advantages for the reproduction through spores, you can say. You can add different points also according to different solutions. As such, not much is given in your textbook. It's okay. Can you think of reasons why more complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration? First of all, regeneration is by means of specialized cells, and whenever the individuals are cut into pieces due to specialized regeneration cells, the body will, once again the cut parts will grow into the new individual or the organism. But in more complex, let us say read these answer here. First, once again I will read the question. Can you think reasons why more complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration? More complex organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through regeneration because their body design is complex and complicated. There are specific organs to do these functions, specific functions: digestive system, excretory system, respiratory system, transportation system like circulatory system. So specific organs are there for performing specific functions. There is a labor of division in complex organisms, and regeneration is carried out by specialized cells, and those are not present in complex organisms. And these are the 4 reasons where the new individuals cannot be one cannot give rise to the new individuals by means of regeneration in complex organisms. Why is vegetative propagation practiced? For growing some types of plants. Those plants which have lost the ability to produce seeds must be grown from the parts of the plants, and vegetative propagation is one of the methods to grow such plants by means of grafting, cutting, etc. You can say that. Why DNA copying is an essential part of the process of reproduction? In order to produce similar body designs, the basic function or the basic element involved is the DNA copy in order to produce the blueprints of the body design. Otherwise, what you can expect? See, we cannot expect a cat from a dog. 2 reasons. First of all, the number of chromosomes will be different in dogs and number of chromosomes will be different in cats. Even in order to produce the dog from the dog, a particular blueprint of the body design is required, and that blueprint can be produced by means of DNA copying. And hence DNA copying is essential part of the reproduction in order to maintain the similar body design, is what you can say. And variations will be there. Those variations would be able to help the organism to withstand harsh environmental conditions and to continue with the species. Next. How is the process of pollination different from fertilization? Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma, whereas fertilization is the process of fusion of male and female gametes. As a result of fertilization, zygote is formed. So this is a simple answer. What is the role of seminal vesicles and prostate gland? Important every time this question appears, because their secretions provide the fluid medium for the movement of sperms and also provide nutrition for sperms. These are the two functions. What are the changes seen in girls at the time of puberty? I had asked also in my PPT to note down common changes that are common to the girls, common to both boys and girls and different to both boys and girls. So you have to read that one, because one question can appear from that one. So read yourself the answer for this. How does the embryo get nourishment inside the mother's body? Through one organ called placenta, isn't it? So let us see. The embryo gets nutrition from mother's blood with the help of a special tissue called placenta. This is a disc-like structure embedded on the walls of the uterus, and villi-like projections are there on the embryo side, and blood-filled spaces are there on the mother side. That helps transfer of glucose and oxygen from mothers to embryo, and also the placenta would enable to remove the waste materials or the waste substances from embryo into mother's blood. Okay, these are the things. So if a woman is using copper tea, will it help in protecting her from sexually transmitted diseases? See, if a woman is using copper tea, it will not help in protecting her from sexually transmitted diseases. STDs transmit due to exchange of body fluid, and copper tea cannot prevent from exchanging the body fluid. One important thing here is there shouldn't be a contact between the body fluids. In that case, the copper tea is placed inside the uterine, and therefore there could be a contact between the body fluids between the male and female. Hence, copper tea would not be able to prevent. So, what is that prevents? As I said, according to your textbook, condom usage will be able to prevent to a larger extent sexually transmitted diseases. Please remember that. Next, NCERT exercises. Asexual reproduction takes place through budding in amoeba, it is binary fission. In yeast, it is by budding. Plasmodium by fission. Leishmania by fission. And therefore, yeast produces asexually by budding. Important. Which of the following is not a part of female reproductive system in human beings? Ovary, it is a part of reproductive system, female reproductive system. Uterus, same. Vas deferens, no. Vas deferens is a part of male reproductive system. Fallopian tube, female reproductive system. So C, except vas deferens, others are the part of female reproductive system. The anther contains sepals, no. Carpel, no, it is a female reproductive part of the flower. Ovules, no. Pollen grains, yes. Anther contains pollen sacs which contain male gametes which produce male gametes called pollen grains, which are yellowish in color. What are the advantages of sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? Let us read this. Sexual reproduction promotes diversity of characters in offsprings. Why diversity? Two parents are involved. So both the parents will bring diverse features from their parents, and that will be incorporated into the offspring. And therefore, sexual reproduction, as it involves two parents, it promotes diversity of characters in the offsprings. Characters का मतलब क्या है? Skin color, eyes color, color of the hairs, etc. These are different characteristics. Behavior, for that matter, emotions, emotional behavior, all these things, because of the involvement of two parents, it promotes diversity in living, diversity of characters. Sexual mode of reproduction incorporate process of combination of DNA from two different individuals during reproduction. It plays a prominent role in the origin of new species. Okay, that's one thing. The genetic variations that arise as a result of sexual reproduction also provide wider adaptability to the offsprings, which ensures survival advantage. इसका मतलब ये है, the variations introduced into the offsprings are more, and these variations could probably make the offsprings to withstand more and more harsh environmental conditions, and that helps in continuity of the species, resulting into a process called evolution. Okay, that's fine. So what are the functions performed by the testis in human beings? It secretes hormones, testosterone, and also it secretes sperms, which are male gametes. Why does menstruation occur? Because of the unfertilized egg. Let us read this one. When egg is not fertilized, then due to the breakdown and removal of the inner thick and soft spongy lining of the uterus along with its blood vessels in the form of vaginal bleeding, menstruation occurs. Very clearly given, note down this. Draw a level diagram of the longitudinal section of the flower. This is the longitudinal section, and you have to name the parts here. We have already studied. Next, what are different methods of contraception? Just now I discussed 4 methods: mechanical, chemical, and IUCD, intrauterine contraceptive device such as loop and copper T, and surgical methods. Okay, next. How are the modes of reproduction different in unicellular and multicellular? In unicellular, it is asexual reproduction. In multicellular, generally, see, multicellular matlab, we are talking about complex multicellular organisms. But you see, what is fragmentation? Fragmentation also takes place in multicellular, but what kind of multicellular? Simple multicellular organisms such as Spirogyra. But complex multicellular organisms such as human beings and animals, only a sexual reproduction can take place. Okay, that's important. So we'll read this answer. The modes of reproduction are different in unicellular and multicellular organisms. The unicellular organisms have only one cell. There is no separate tissue for reproduction, so they can reproduce by a process of fission, binary or multiple, or budding. You can say that these are the 2 things which you observe there. Okay, but in multicellular organisms contain various cells and separate system for reproduction, so that they can reproduce both sexual and asexual methods. Next, how does reproduction help in providing stability to the population of species? Just a moment, let me increase it to 125%. Yeah, I hope it's clear. How does production help in providing stability to the population of the species? Reproduction helps in providing stability to population of species because reproduction is a process by which organisms increase their population. The rate of birth and death in a given population determines its size, and this is how the reproduction helps in providing stability of the population of species. What could be the reasons for adopting contraceptive methods? To prevent unwanted pregnancy and to prevent STDs, especially condom. So these are the question answers of your textbook. I think we have covered all your in-text and exercise questions. So let me see if possible to go through what is that MCQs, isn't it? Let me check if how many MCQs are there. Otherwise, I will send across to you the answers also for the MCQs. So let us take a small pause here, and then I will get back to you. We will go through the MCQs. These are exemplar questions. In the list of organisms given below, those that reproduce by asexual method are banana, dog, yeast, and amoeba. Yes, asexual method. Dog comes under sexual method of reproduction. So, yeast, amoeba, and banana, 1, 3, and 4. 1, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. Answer B should be the correct answer. In a flower, the parts that produce male and female gametes are anther produces male gametes, Ovary produces female gametes. C is the correct answer. Which of the following is the correct sequence of events of sexual reproduction in flower? Pollination, fertilization, seedling, embryo. It is okay. Pollination, fertilization, first embryo, then seedling. Here you can see C is the answer. Offspring formed by asexual method of reproduction have greater similarity among themselves because asexual reproduction involves only one parent, correct? Asexual reproduction does not involve gametes, yes. Asexual reproduction occurs before sexual reproduction, wrong. Asexual reproduction occurs after sexual reproduction, wrong. 1 and 2 A. So these are the correct one. Okay. Next. Characters transmitted from parents to offspring are present in cytoplasm, ribosome, Golgi bodies, genes. D. Genes. Characters that are transmitted from parents to offspring during reproduction show only similarities with parents, only variations with parents, both similarities and variations with parents, neither similarities nor variations, both similarities and variations with parents. C is the answer for that. A feature of reproduction that is common to amoeba, spirogyra and yeast is they reproduce asexually, correct. They are unicellular. Amoeba, spirogyra. Spirogyra is not unicellular, wrong. They reproduce only sexually, wrong. They are all multicellular, wrong. A is the answer. In spirogyra, asexual reproduction takes place by fragmentation, no? Where it is available, filaments into smaller bits, breaking up of filaments into smaller bits, division of a cell into two, no. Cell into many, no. Formation of young cells, no. Breaking up of filaments into smaller bits should be the answer. A. Ninth one, the ability of a cell to divide into several cells during reproduction in plasmodium is called multiple fission. The correct sequence of reproductive stages seen in the flowering plant is reproductive stage: gametes, okay, zygote, okay, embryo, okay, seedling, okay. First itself. The number of chromosomes in parents and offsprings of a particular species remains constant due to doubling of chromosomes after zygote formation? No. Let's see. Halving of chromosomes during gamete formation, doubling of chromosomes after gamete formation, halving of chromosomes after gamete formation. So it is making the chromosomes half during gamete formation would restore the number of chromosomes in the offsprings. C is the answer for this. Not C, B is the answer for this. In the rhizobus, tubular thread-like structure bearing sporangia at the tips is called filament, hyphae, rhizoids, roots. Hyphae is the answer for that. Vegetative propagation refers to formation of new plants from stem, root, flowers. Yes, stem, roots, leaves. Yes, stem, flowers, fruits. Stem, leaves and flowers. But I'll consider this one: stem, roots and leaves. So answer B should be the correct one. Factors responsible for rapid spread of bread mold on slices of bread are large number of spores, availability of moisture and nutrients in the bread. I go with that. Let's check. Presence of tubular branched hyphae, formation of round shaped sporangia. Oh, let's see here. 1 and 2, large number of spores and presence of tubular. 1 and 2 should be the answer here. C should be the answer. Large number of spores and presence of availability of moisture and nutrients in the bread. C should be the answer here. These two. Spores should be more and moisture, nutrients make them to grow. Length of pollen tube depends on the distance between pollen grain and upper surface of stigma. Pollen grain on upper surface of stigma and ovule. This is what, isn't it? That's all. B is the answer. Which of the following statements are true for flowers? Flowers are always bisexual? No. They are the sexual reproductive organs? Yes. They are produced in all groups of plants? No. After fertilization, they give rise to fruits? Yes. 2 and 4. 2 and 4. So answer is D here. Which among the following statements are true for unisexual flowers? They possess both stamen? No. They possess either stamen or pistil? Yes. They exhibit cross pollination? Yes. Unisexual flowers possessing only stamens cannot produce fruits? No, wrong. So it is 1, 2 and 4. They possess both stamen and pistil? Wrong. What is the answer given? Second one. Second one is 2, 3 and 4. What is 2? They possess either stamen or pistil. Correct. Third, they exhibit cross pollination. Okay. And fourth one, unisexual flowers possessing only stamens cannot produce fruits. I doubt this is correct or not. Unisexual flowers possessing only stamens cannot produce fruits. What are stamens? Possibility is there. Why you know? Definitely the female reproductive part is required for production of the fruit. Why? Stigma, style and ovary must be present. Even if anther is not available or the stamen is not available, stamen means male reproductive part. If male reproductive part is not available, fine, it is okay, because anthers can come from different flowers. Whereas if there is only stamen, where the fertilization takes place? Not possible. And therefore unisexual flowers possessing only stamens cannot produce fruits. Important. So it is second. 2, 3 and 4 should be the correct answers. Which among the following statements are true for sexual reproduction in flowering plants? It requires 2 types of gametes. True. Fertilization is a compulsory event. We don't know. Let's see. Statement for sexual reproduction. Okay. It is always a result in formation of zygote. Yes. Offspring formed are clones. Offspring forms are not clones. So 1, 2, 3 is what I think it should be. Answer C. 1, 2, 3. In figure 8.1 here, parts A, B, C are sequentially A, plumule, B, cotyledon, C, radicle. You identify yourself. Next. Offsprings formed as a result of sexual reproduction exhibit more variations because sexual reproduction is lengthy. Wrong. Genetical material comes from both the parents, from 2 parents of the same species. That should be the answer for this. Reproduction is essential for living organisms in order to keep the individual organisms alive, fulfill their energy requirement, maintain growth, continue species generation after the generation should be the answer for this. During adolescence, several changes occur in human body. Mark one change associated with sexual maturation in boys. Loss of milk teeth, increase in height, cracking of eyes, weight gain. Cracking of eyes should be the answer. In human females, an event that reflects onset of reproductive phase is menstruation should be the answer for this. In human males, the testes lie in the scrotum because it helps in process of mating. No. Formation of sperms. Yes. Easily transfer of gametes. No. All of the above. Formation of the sperms because they require lower temperature, and below abdomen temperature is slightly lower than the body temperature. Which of the following is not a function of testis at puberty? Formation of germ cells, secretion of testosterone, development of placenta, secretion of estrogen. So here 3 and 4, development of placenta and estrogen, are not the functions of the testis during puberty. Testosterone, yes. Germ cells, yes. Sperms, those are released. The correct sequence of organs in the male reproductive system for transport of sperm is testis, okay, vas deferens and urethra. This is the answer, correct answer. Which among the following diseases is not sexually transmitted? Syphilis, STD, hepatitis, not STD, HIV, STD, gonorrhea, STD. Hepatitis is the answer for this one. So, with respect to short answer and long answer types, I have already sent you across the PDF. Please go through this one. Yes, students, we have completed this chapter in all respects, and in my next lecture, I'll be taking up with the new chapter. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Work hard, study hard, go through all the question answers of this chapter. This is relatively easy, and watching the video lectures again and again helps you a lot to remember a lot of things. So fine then, we'll close the lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you very much for watching.